why don't we start off? Senator Berman, you've represented somewhat this district. Redistricting changes things a little bit, but give voters a sense of what exactly lies in this district, what makes it what makes it special, and what makes it unusual compared to the rest of South Florida.
Absolutely. So the district has a very big swath of South Palm Beach County. It has all of Delray Beach, all of Boynton Beach, and half of Boca Raton. The Glades Road line is the divider for Boca Raton. Then it goes over from Hypoluxo Boulevard up where it hits the turnpike, and it actually comes up at that point, and it takes in Wellington, which will be a new area that I have not represented. And then it goes all the way to the Glades, which is also an area I have not represented. It has Belglade and South Bay. So it has a mix of everything in it. It has the agricultural, very big, significant agricultural area. It has Wellington, which is known for its equestrian area. And then it has the more urban areas of Boca, Delray, and Boynton Beach. You're on mute.
I'm going to ask Mr. Byers this question as well, but why don't you explain to voters why you would be the best candidate to represent the newly drawn district?
Are you asking that to me or Lori?
I was asking to Ms. Berman, saying that I'm going to ask it to you as well coming up. But Senator Berman, can you explain why you're the best candidate in your opinion to represent this district?
Thank you so much for that question. So I have represented this district, a large portion of this district, as I said, for the last 12 years. I have 12 years of experience in the legislature. I have a very large base of institutional knowledge, which is rare in Tallahassee because of term limits. You don't find that many people with institutional knowledge. I've made relationships. I know the issues. I know the stakeholders. And I'm an attorney, and my background as an attorney combined with my legislative experience really puts me in the position to be able to advocate really strongly for the district, which I've done for the last 12 years, bringing home a lot of money for our district, as well as legislation that matters to the constituents, as well as handling constituent issues. And I hope to continue to do so in the future.
Mr. Byers, why don't you answer the same question? Like I said, what makes you the best candidate to represent this district?
What makes me the best candidate to represent this district? Well, one is that I think a lot of people in this district are going to side on the fact that they're a little upset with how the establishment's been run, how the government's been run, how we had to fight through some shutdowns. Although we were able to bounce back pretty hard with that because of our great governor. But I'm a businessman. I'm a family man. I'm a community man. And I can represent the people and their interests and their concerns directly. I'm 100% available to them. I haven't been sucked into the institutions yet, or the establishment up there. And I hope to have a good balance. We need to get work done up there, but when it comes down to push comes to shove, I'm going to side with the people and the people's concerns. The concerns that I see these people in this district and a lot of Florida having right now is high on their list is insurance costs for property insurance. And something that I feel I'm especially qualified in is HOA concerns. When the HOA gets out of hand, people are at a loss and it can't be reeled back in. And that's something that I spent a lot of time in my personal world dealing with that. And I can help and apply my knowledge there to help other people in this area and throughout Florida for that matter. Probably the biggest issue is going to be the insurance, the property insurance concerns.
Okay. Sure, and I want to get more into that, but you mentioned the concerns of the people in this district. And according to, these numbers are a little outdated because it's from the August primary, but according to the list book closing numbers from that August primary, there are a little over 108,000 Republican and 163,000 Democratic voters in this district. So when you say you want to represent the views of this district, how do you convince a district that's largely Democratic to put aside the Democratic incumbent and vote for the Republican in this election?
Well, oftentimes I simply ask people, do you know who your senator is? And their answer is no. And I say, well, you can know who your future senator is. That's me. So I don't think there is an extreme loyalty at this point in time in the atmosphere and the environment and politics, because right now there's more of a concern of the personal pocketbook and what policies have been affecting them personally and getting them upset. So I don't see that there's a really strict policy affiliate or party affiliation right now when it comes out to the vote.
Okay. Randy, did you have questions? I want to open the floor to you.
Well, yes, let's dive right in. On your website, Mr. Byers, you list one of your priorities as election integrity, and you say if you did smell a rat, I think that was the phrase in the last election, you're wrong. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Well, can you quote that a little more directly, or do you want me to look it up? Because I wrote that.
No, I've got it. Let me see if I can, because
Here, I've got it right in front of me. It says election integrity. This is largely why I stepped up to the political arena. That's right. I am with you, and I can smell a rat. If you don't think things went wrong in past elections, then you should still support that someone wants to confirm the highest level of integrity. If you think things were not accountable, it's time to make them accountable.
Correct. So, and the question one more time.
Well, what did you mean by that? What's the
Well,
rat?
I think what's a rat? Well, when something's not wrong, it just doesn't look right. You know, you can't really pinpoint it, but there's something dead here in the room. So that's how I relate to the rat. There's something.
What's dead, sir?
Well, when you don't have the people's confidence that the vote counting was correct, you know, you want to, maybe it was correct, and if you think it was correct, then and there's a large people who think it was correct, they should be willing to prove to the small group of people that had questioned it that it was correct. I don't think there's a really good answer for people who say, hey, can you show me why these anomalies happened, and can you stand behind them with an audit?
What anomalies, sir?
Well, I think you've seen a lot of these systems break and shut down at the 11th hour, and then come back with.
No, you haven't seen that, sir. Give me an example, would you?
No, that's what I saw. So if I haven't.
Well, which system broke down at the 11th hour and then came back?
I'm going to say in general. You got the presidential election.
Excuse me, no, sir. That's not. Respectfully, that's not good enough. You're saying. I believe you're saying that Donald Trump should have won the 2020 election. Are you?
You know what, Randy? You can't put words in my mouth. So just look and listen what's coming out of here. I'm telling you, when there's a question on the integrity of the system, it should be able to come out and verify every outcome and not have it mystery to the people. So in the 11th hour, when something breaks and then something comes back and it's got people concerned, the integrity of the system needs to be verifiable to the people.
Sure. Again, which system broke at the 11th hour and then came back?
I would call it the election system that the United States had break down in the 11th hour and have to go, hours and hours, if not to conclude the election counting.
Hey,
well, go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
Steve, in that same election integrity, plank in your platform, you said, "How do we do this?" And you said, "I appreciate and support these 10 points to election integrity," which leads to another website, a Substack site with 10 points for election integrity. Among those are ban mail-in voting and ban early voting. You support those two things?
Well, I can appreciate them, and a lot of people, that's what they can't verify. The old system of mail-in voting, where you separate the ballot from the envelope, and the envelope's tossed away, and all you have is a ballot, How do you go back and say, hey, let me prove it to you that this came in from a registered voter that's in the district? So that is concerned. And if we can't fix it, then maybe we have to, and I would support, or I can appreciate the people who are saying maybe we should do away with that. Mail-in voting was only for those who were absentee, and they had to give a reason for absentee. And then a lot of times those weren't even a significant amount to even change an election. Now that we've got 30% of the mail-in ballots, so now we have 30% not being able to be reconnected to who actually cast the vote.
But we've had no cause mail-in voting since well before the pandemic in Florida, and I don't think prior to 2020 people have said that there was enough fraud in those numbers to flip elections or anything. At least in Florida.
You use the word fraud. I'm using the word being able to verify.
And I'm still waiting to hear which of those election systems, quote, broke down at the 11th hour and then came back.
Randy, are you trying to get me to say something like a brand name so that the brand name can come after me? It's well known for that. So I'm going to stick to my answer, Randy. And I think a lot of people, if anyone tunes in and gets to watch this video, will appreciate that.
I guess. But to go back to the original question, which we have asked at all levels, do you believe that President Biden won the 2020 election fairly?
I believe it's unverifiable because of our system being broken down and not having the right verifiable tricks. So
this is even though former President Trump's election security guy said it was the most secure, protected, trouble-free election in the country's history.
Again, people can say what they want. It's the verification that has to reach the people's confidence. And if the people don't have confidence in the way it's verified, then it's a broke system that needs to be better.
Well, if people simply refuse to believe a result based on no evidence at all, how does one address a concern like that?
So if people refuse to believe a result based upon no evidence at all, maybe we should offer them some sound evidence.
Well, there's plenty of evidence from, I think, 60 court cases that the former president brought. Do you think that the election was fairly done in Florida?
I'm so glad you're giving me so much airtime. This is great. So we're halfway through this interview, and I get to talk all this. Well, I tell you what, I think you were quoting the president and trying to reference some law cases. There's a quote out there, I think Biden made himself, about the integrity of this election and the machine that was behind it. And that got a lot of people concerned. And maybe it was a misspoke, a faux pas. But like I said, we need to put together a system where people can be confident. Now, I can give you an idea. I think I equate a value to everyone's vote. Okay. If I were to do some quick math in the back of my head, I think one time I came up with about $30,000 per vote if you take the value of our country and our gross product. So if we put $30,000 into our own bank account, do we know when we put the deposit in and what bank account it is? And is that auditable? Always. Is it private? Does anybody else know what we have in our bank account? No. So we need a system that is as trackable and auditable as our banking. And why can't we do that? Or why don't we do that? We can do it. Why isn't it done? So I think that we can really raise our voters' confidence by creating a better system for tracking and maintaining the records of our votes.
Okay, Lori, over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm happy for the opportunity to speak about this issue. The big lie is undermining democracy in our country. And I'm sorry to have it being discussed here in this interview because it is a big lie. We had the governor of our state talk after the election about what a perfect election we had here in the state of Florida. You mentioned there were 60 lawsuits. I don't think that the the burden of proof of that the election wasn't fair should be on I think the burden of proof needed to be on the people who are alleging it wasn't fair. And they failed in every way throughout the country to show that there was any voter fraud. And I think if you talk to our supervisors of elections in the state of Florida, which I deal very much with them directly, they will tell you there is actually a trail, there is auditing, we do have paper ballots, we do have a way for them to look at everything. And it is being done in the state of Florida in an exemplary manner. And I'm sure that the other states that are part of this discussion about the big lie feel equally as confident. We've seen the Georgia Secretary of State, who's a Republican, the Arizona government has said that their races were done absolutely 100% correctly. And I'm very discouraged and very upset to hear that we are still talking about the big lie more than almost 2 years, or I'm sorry, 4 years after 2 years after the election. And it is disturbing to me, and it undermines people's confidence in government. And that is really a problem as we move forward in government. I mean, I feel like I feel as a good representative of the people, we all need to know what the truth is. And I don't think that there's any reason we should continue to put forth these big lies.
I want to maybe move on to a different subject.
Thank you.
Mr. Byers mentioned property insurance. Senator Berman, in your questionnaire, we asked about the three most important issues facing your legislative district. Your number one that you put was affordable housing, but your second one was the skyrocketing cost of property insurance. You wrote that Floridians won't, because of the laws passed in the last special session on property insurance, that Floridians wouldn't see any rate reductions for at least 18 months. Do you feel post-Hurricane Ian that is still accurate? And what more ought to be done to lower property insurance in Florida?
I am so troubled post-Hurricane Ian. I think we were hurting and we were in a very tenuous situation pre-Hurricane Ian, and post-Hurricane Ian, it is going to be even worse. There are going to be companies that go out of business. Citizens is obviously going to suffer a very significant loss. I think they already said $2 billion of claims. And I think I've seen calls for a special session. I would support that, of going back and talking about insurance. Some of the ideas I want us to start to discuss, you see the TV commercials all over the country, bundle home and auto. We don't do that in Florida. We let everybody come in and do what they want to do. You can be an auto insurer and you don't have to write homeowners in our state. Let's look if we can put some pressure on some of those companies to do both home and auto in our state. My real solution is a federal solution. And obviously I don't have control over that. Just like we do with flood insurance, we should have a national catastrophic insurance. The rest of the country has catastrophic events too. They can't only say it's Florida's hurricanes. There's fires, there's earthquakes, there's tornadoes, as well as hurricanes hitting other parts of the country too. So I would love for us to have a national catastrophic insurance fund to take the hurricane issue away from Florida. And I continue to advocate for that, but obviously I'm not in that chamber. But I'm so open to any ideas that we can do about property insurance. I want to hear, and everybody's a bad player. Let's just start with that premise. Everybody's a bad player. The insurers are bad players. The reinsurance companies are bad players. The adjusters are bad players. The roofers are bad players. The attorneys are bad players. So everybody's going to have to come to the table and figure out what we can do, and it's going to hurt everybody, not just one group, which is what we did in the special session. I have to say, we've been trying in special sessions, but we haven't done enough, and we're going to be for a very big situation of hurt. I hope all of you have already renewed your property insurance, because going forward it's going to get a lot worse, I think.
Mr. Byers, you just heard Lori Berman say she's open to any idea on this. Two ideas that she mentioned were, you do see these commercials for, hey, bundle your home and auto, and you can do that in Florida, but the insurers are not required to, if they sell auto insurance, to also sell homeowners insurance. Should there be a requirement like that? Should there be a national cat fund? Do you have any other ideas to confront this issue?
Well, I agree to exploring that bundling. I mean, other states do it, and it's always a benefit. In fact, you know, a federal assistance program like the NFIP, I think there's a lot of wind damage, and the flood insurance is very helpful for people. I think I've got a lot of experience with boots on the ground working with insureds for years after an insurance program. So hundreds and hundreds of claims in Hurricane Michael. And right now, you know, I'm boots on the ground over there in Cape Coral and the West Coast, helping people personally over there. So I have a perspective that I can bring, and I'll organize that in perspective. And I tend to really question the advantages that the insurance companies are given in situations when people's lives are destroyed. And I think there's some great insurance companies, but it's very rare that an insurance company comes out and hits the target on what they need to do for their insured. I'm seeing a little more of it here and there, but I would say 80 to 90% of the time that insured has got to double stress their life, not just from the hurricane, but the second stress is dealing with insurance companies. So I want to bring that into the legislature and even the playing field. Individuals aren't there lobbying for themselves. The insurance companies are there lobbying for themselves. And the reinsurers, you know, Lori's right. It's not just one set of bad players, the people making claims. It's a whole industry that needs to be reviewed. And, you know, it's great to say $2 billion of damage that Citizens is going to have to cover. But the insurance industry is $1 trillion industry. $2 billion is not significant in a financial industry that takes as much as it takes from our people's lives, and then is so stingy on paying it back. You know, if you look at the records, insurance companies have hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars in reserves. And if it's not directly in the insurance company, it's in the reinsurance companies. And a lot of that's offshore. So it's a global situation, actually. And you got to take a look and follow the money.
Particularly reinsurance, yeah. But she mentioned a national cat fund and bundling and all. I wanted to know if you had any other ideas for confronting this. I mean, I'll stipulate that most of what you said about the insurance industry and the reinsurance industry is, you know, completely true. But like, what would you do if elected to try to lower property insurance rates in Florida? Like, what ideas do you have?
Well, I think we get these insurance companies to acknowledge this has got to be probably one of the world's best markets for them to come in and sell insurance. I mean, I'm serious. Florida, they probably are just happy to be here and selling, and they probably back up and reinsure here. And then they're really happy to reinsure here. So we got to follow the money, get some true accounting in that exposes what's happening behind the scenes. You know, insurance companies and their mega yachts and that are 500, maybe $50 million, and then they're crying about big payouts. That kind of stuff. We need to bring it down to the people's level and get them answers. So to me, we're going to be holding the insurance companies' feet to the fire and not just let them lobby away with it. One of the big things I do think is that the lawsuits, people call them frivolous lawsuits. Well, I have yet to see frivolous lawsuits. Every time there might be a frivolous claim and it might fall away pretty quick because lawyers won't take it. But the lawyers will take the lawsuits when they know it's a solid claim and the insurance company is not playing fair. So the frivolity of an insurance claim is on the insurance company for not doing their work and causing the insured to go years to get paid and to hire lawyers and to incur more expenses. These insurance companies realize they'll probably make more interest in their reserves than they will paying out if they just wait 5 years. So I think that needs to be taken a look at, and insurance companies need to be penalized if they don't pay out in a short period of time. And it really shouldn't be a penalty of lawyer fees it should be something that is a little more painful to them.
Okay, thank you. Steve, I see you have your hand up. Fire away.
Okay, thanks very much, and good morning to the candidates. I did join a couple of minutes late. First of all, very briefly, I want to be sure I heard Mr. Byers correctly a minute ago. Mr. Byers, did you say that there's no such thing as frivolous lawsuits?
I have not seen as many frivolous lawsuits from the insured as I have from the insurers. The insurers cause the frivolity of having to go to a lawsuit in order to recover what they're entitled to. A lot of these things never make it to court because the insurance companies pay out, but the insurance companies have this smug feeling of they've done the right thing because they've held out like 3 or 4 or 5 years before paying the money. Sometimes many, and even in my personal cases, after the insured has passed away. And so
Okay.
that, to me, the frivolity comes from the insured side a lot more often than the frivolity comes from the customer side. It's from the insurance company side.
Okay. I want to switch to Dan. I've got a question about immigration and about the flights to Martha's Vineyard, but I wanted to be sure that hasn't already been asked and answered.
No, we've discussed election integrity, and we have discussed property insurance.
Okay, I'll start with Senator Lori Berman. Lori, I believe you voted for the state budget that took effect on July 1st. Most Democrats did. The vast majority of them did. And as we now know, the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, used some of that money to hire a charter jet service to go to Texas to pick up Venezuelan migrants and take them to Martha's Vineyard. My question is, was that legal? And what do you think of his actions?
Thank you. Good morning, Steve. Good to see you.
Yep.
So if you read, I actually sat and read that provision in the budget. And as you know, we vote for the budget because there are many, many things in there. If we could pull that provision out, I certainly wouldn't have voted for it at the time. But that was 12 million out of a $110 billion budget. And if you read that provision, it's very clear that what the governor did wasn't legal. And that's why, my colleague, Senator Pizzo, has brought that lawsuit about enjoining him from moving forward in the same manner. The people have to be in the state of Florida. The fact that he landed in the state of Florida, I don't think that satisfies the requirement. And they have to be here illegally. Those people were asylum seekers. They weren't here illegally. It's amazing because now, as a result of what's just happened with Hurricane Ian, we realize how crazy these stunts are and how ridiculous waste of time and governmental money and governmental efforts were doing this so that he could get political coverage in his ambitious run up for the presidency. And I think that the hurricane actually laid bare very much why these things are really counterproductive here in the state of Florida. We need to be spending time on issues like property insurance that we just discussed and figuring out how to do it, and infrastructure and resilience preparation for storms. So I don't agree with it.
All right, thank you very much. Let me switch quickly to Mr. Byers and ask Mr. Byers, were Ron DeSantis's actions legal? And what do you think of using state money for this purpose?
I would assume that they're legal and that he used the money correctly. I'm in there to support Ron DeSantis. He's done a lot to keep our Florida separate and apart from the concerns of the country. And one of the concerns is the open borders and the criminals and the degradation of our country due to those open borders. I think he transported them to a sanctuary destination, and I think that's what he did. And I'm not sure about where we would have had a sanctuary destination here in Florida. So if they went to a sanctuary destination, what's the problem? And I think they were all with their consent, and he was doing them a favor. I mean, if someone sent me to a special sanctuary, it wouldn't matter. I think Martha's Vineyards are quite an awesome sanctuary. So I think he did them right. And, it's insignificant in the Florida budget as much as if it's a stunt on his side, it's a stunt on the media side to make an issue of it.
Okay, thanks. Dan, I have no more questions.
Okay. I do want to address the other issues that Senator Berman, you wrote are top issues in your in your questionnaire. The first one was affordable housing. In parts of this district, the cost of housing has skyrocketed. What exactly can the legislature do to, in any way, try to keep the cost of housing down in this district and across the state?
Are you addressing that to me or to?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. I think I was pretty clear in my answer too. A big part of what we can do is fully fund the Sadowski Trust Fund, which we made the decision, I guess, a year or two ago to fund in half. I love resiliency, which is what we're funding the other half with, but I don't think it should be at the expense of affordable housing. So that's a big thing. I think money, can make a difference in this area. Don't always agree with putting money into something, but I think affordable housing needs the money. We haven't funded it. We've swept those trust funds. And the other really great thing about affordable housing is I think it should be very much done on a countywide level. That's where they know where the needs are. We in the state of Florida can't say, oh, we need more affordable housing in this area. Like you said, Southern Palm Beach County is great. The housing prices are crazy. All of Palm Beach County right now, but particularly Southern Palm Beach County. So I'm supporting the bond that the county commission is doing in Palm Beach County to get some more affordable housing. And I think that if Palm Beach County had more money from the Sadowski Fund, they could be doing things like down payments and subsidizing developers to build more affordable housing.
Mr. Byer, I'm sure as a resident here, you are aware of the housing costs. Do you agree that the best the legislature can do is fully fund the Sadowski Trust Fund? Are there any other ideas you have on the subject?
Yeah, well, I agree. I'm a pilot. I fly out of the backyard here in Delray Beach, and I fly over these mega neighborhoods, and it's just amazing how they go up. And they're all these McMansions all lined up in a row, and you wonder where the workers coming from. And maybe you see a small little apartment complex pop up somewhere, but it's a big lopsided housing situation. I had an epiphany 2 days ago when I'm driving through Cape Coral. Cape Coral's got some really nice houses. They're all on these massive canal systems that reach out to the bay. But right next door, there are streets that are not on the canal. And those houses are not the McMansions. Those houses are houses that we would see from yesteryear Florida, built here, maybe over near Dixie Highway or Military Highway. But in Cape Coral, they're within walking distance to the people who have really nice homes and a comfortable living situation. And so here we have affordable housing, walking distance to what I'll call retirement housing, and successful retired people, the more affluent. And that's a great balance. We need to bring balance back into our community developments. And I think that we need to sit down and talk with some of these big GL homes and say, hey, how can you integrate into your community plan, which is 1 square mile or 2 square miles, housing that is affordable, which will literally afford better services to the wealthy who are in that community as well. So I think that needs to be reviewed, talked about, and tabled. And if we can table it as the leadership of Florida, whether it's laws or some program like a funding, then we'll be effective in creating better housing situations for everybody.
Randy, do you have any further questions?
I had a couple of follow-ups from earlier comments for Steve. Just to be clear, do you on insurance, would you favor the legislature requiring all insurers in Florida to write all lines of coverage?
I'm not 100% sure on that. I mean, there's some specialties. Maybe there can be some encouragements that if they do spread the risks out, that they can lower their prices, then we want to encourage that. But we encourage it with financial or legal incentives, then that's great. But I often think that we need to open up our marketplace so that we have better competition and better service to the people.
Oh boy, I've heard that for about 25 years. The other thing is you made two references now to being over in the Southwest after the hurricane, and you said boots on the ground. Your website doesn't seem to indicate what professionally takes you over there. What are you doing, boots on the ground?
Well, let's see. I think my website does, down in my profession, 2014 to present, insurance claims adjusting.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so you are an adjuster. Then how many cases are you working after Ian right now? Do you know?
It's a small handful. I don't advertise. I work word of mouth.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Well, Steve doesn't have any more. Randy doesn't have any more. I don't think I do either. I'd like each of you to take just like a minute and do what we call an elevator pitch. You know, if you were in an elevator with a potential voter, what would you tell them to convince them to vote for you in the upcoming election? I'm going to give Mr. Byers the last word. So Senator Berman, we'll start with you.
Thank you. So I ran so that my children would have the same opportunities I have here in South Florida, to have top-notch educational system as a child of the public educational system, to have excellent health care, married to someone who's in the healthcare industry, and to have great job opportunities. And that's what has been my guiding light, as well as a clean environment. Those have been my guiding lights as I've been in the legislature for 12 years, continue to be my guiding lights. Always willing to talk to worked on thousands of constituent cases, working for the people of Palm Beach County, trying to be their voice in Tallahassee, want to go up there and be reelected so that I can continue to do that, continue to make sure that the people are heard in Tallahassee, and bring back money to our Palm Beach County, which I think is really important. We're a donor county, and it's important that we bring back some of that money here for important issues. I've done that. I brought back 13 million in the last 2 years, all kinds of things, nonprofits, environmental issues. We have a prison rehabilitation program when people leave prisons in Pahokee that I brought money back for many years. So hope to continue to represent the viewers, the constituents and viewers of this tape, actually, and would love to have the support of the people, because that's the most important thing. Thank you.
Mr. Byers, why don't you wrap things up?
I don't know. In Florida, they don't have elevators that go that many floors, so I'll try and keep my short. So my quick elevator. Hey, do you vote? Yes, no. Well, you should vote. Do you know who your state senator is? Well, I can be your next state senator, and you can say that you know me. Go visit my website, votestevebyers.com. My personal cell phone, here in my pocket, rings off of that phone number. You got something to talk to me about, I'll be glad to help you. You'll like the issues that I want to address up in the Tallahassee, in the state capitol. Vote Steve Byers, and I'll stand for your freedom.
All right. Well, thank you both very much. I appreciate it. And thank you for your time. And
yeah, I have to say, Lori is pleasant to be with, and we're always smiling. And I don't know, she gets me to smile. I get her to smile, hopefully. And I appreciate you guys.
all right. Take care.
Good luck.